You're listening to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. We're a podcast, so look us up on Spreaker. Jeannie Roller is my co-host. Jeannie Roller's in Indiana. I am in Florida. Jeannie, we are talking about a topic that has been talked about a lot, and it should be talked about more. And I'm going to try to play the devil's advocate on some of this because I don't understand in some ways the brilliancy of some of these doctors that can diagnose that quickly in an emergency room situation. And that's what the topic is about, emergency room doctors and how things go awry. And maybe the diagnosis isn't the one that should be. Things happen, people die, there's complications. But on the other side of it is, look how fast that they have to make these decisions and try to figure this out, even with all of the different diagnostic procedures that are available to them today. You still have to pick the right one. You still have to read it the right way. It's going through channels of other doctors that are reading it as fast as they can, those kind of things. But let's talk about that, Jeannie.
Well, yeah, and part of that, Cindy, is you want an experienced ER doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key to it, is having one who's experienced and who's been through the battlefield, I guess.
Right.
This is about a young man who had went to 2 different emergency rooms, and both of them, in my opinion, failed him because he eventually died.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was he was just deathly sick, had a high temperature, vomiting, didn't feel like moving, and he eventually died by himself in his room. The emergency room kept sending him home. There was a sepsis alert issued, but it was overridden because it looked like to me that the doctor wasn't experienced enough, and it got manually overturned, and that may have been what caused all this.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know we had Michelle on a few years back, and her daughter Jessie, a very young lady,
mm-hmm.
maybe 7 years old, she died from sepsis that was not diagnosed in the emergency room.
Yeah. And it's a horrific death.
Personally,
it's a horrific death. It is.
My son went to an emergency clinic, and it was at a university, and because of how he presented, long hair, a college student, male, he was misdiagnosed and sent home and told if he felt, this was on a Thursday, if he felt worse, come back on Monday for a flu shot. And on Friday afternoon, I took him to another emergency room, and he was diagnosed as being in a diabetic coma practically, and he wouldn't have lived probably past midnight if they hadn't intervened at that time. So there's a lot of, are there a lot of good emergency room doctors? For sure. But, the stats say that you're more likely to be harmed in an emergency room than any other part of the hospital system.
Yeah.
Because things get overlooked. They're going so quick. They may misinterpret a test or whatever. So they say that people who don't have a lot of just, right blaring symptoms, they're the ones more likely to be misdiagnosed if they are more, silent in their symptoms. So there's a lot that goes on there, and a lot that can go wrong.
Yeah, what would be the alternative to do that? I know that there are a couple of ERs locally here by me. One of them we all talk about, that's the one to go to, and the other 2 not so much. So I don't know if that's the right thing to say, as an alternative, like where should you go? Because you need an ER. You never know when it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, if something's happening, and I'm not just talking about, you need stitches or something like that, or you're having a heart attack or, a stroke, God forbid, any of those things, you got to go to an ER. You're not going to get a doctor and your regular doctor. So, what do? You research on, I know my own instance in the ER, I would most likely not be sitting here today talking if I would have listened explicitly to that ER doctor. But I stood up for myself and fought for myself because I knew I couldn't breathe, and they were sending me home. And I'm like, I'm not leaving. There's something wrong. I am not leaving. I listened to myself, and they did more testing, and sure enough, there was serious stuff wrong. So what do you do? A lot of people are intimidated. I mean, that's how we started this podcast. A lot of people are intimidated. I kind of was, but something told me do not leave, and I didn't. And then when they had more testing, the doctor finally listened to me after they got done, yelling and screaming at me to leave and the whole bit, then realized, they screwed up.
Yeah.
So, you got, my advice is you just listen to yourself. You don't have to. I wasn't adamant. I was just like, no, I can't breathe. This is too scary. I can't even get up and walk. So how am I going to walk out of here? I can't leave. Please do something else for me. You're the doctor. Please do something. That's when they did more testing. And it came back that it was a really serious thing. So it's like you said, Jeannie, you took your son to another ER, and that,
right.
made all the difference. And the sepsis, we should do a show on that because sepsis is so prevalent. I have people in my family that had cancers and they actually died from the sepsis in the hospital. They never even died. This is going to sound really awful, but they never lived to see the day that, the cancer took over, if you will. Horrible as that sounds, they died of sepsis. And I know that from that interview that we did with that poor girl, she was, 7? That is a horrible death to die from. It really is. I wouldn't want anybody to. But the ERs, I get, there's millions of people in ERs right now as we're doing this podcast, and God love the doctors, the nursing staff, and the medical staff that are in those because they help people every day they do. But when it goes bad, it can go really bad. I don't know what the answer is. Take more time. I think we talk about that so many times on these podcasts that's what it is. It's quick. I know in ERs there are certain instances where it is emergency stat, those kind of things, whatever you want to call it, you label it. But the triage system too is what they go by, and sometimes that there's a lot of things that are missed. That the person should be more of a stat patient than they look like they're okay kind of thing. I don't know what the one answer is for that.
Yeah. One stat that I found was 1 in 18 patients nationwide were misdiagnosed in the ER.
Okay.
So, that's kind of high.
Yeah, it is.
That's not
20%.
1 in 20. That's 1 in 18. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 20%.
So,
yeah,
that's kind of high.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. I mean, there again, I think a lot of it has to do with experience.
Right.
Of the ER personnel.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with how busy they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why
there's a lot of factors involved.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of saying that we talk here in the area where I live and we say, okay, this is the one we know. We know this many people that have gone there that seemingly have gotten, they're all alive now, today. The ones that we talk about, or one or two maybe that had just conditions that they should have gone sooner kind of thing to a regular doctor and not wound up in the ER. Mm-hmm. So, I don't blame ER people on that. You do have to have your own responsibility too at the end of the day. You do. But that's the only thing that I know to do is just a lot of communication. And we can't sit here on this podcast and say in different areas. Misty Roberts is another one. We mention her on podcast too that's got patient modesty website, medicalpatientmodesty.org website that talks about places that have been vetted in different areas that are, recommended more than other places to go to as well. And then I wonder, too, with the change of staff and whatever, how that changes. There's so much to keep up on. There really is. But the ER, at the end of the day, you got to have an ER available. They do help so many people. They really do. But, that's, you got to be your own best advocate. Yeah, you do. And keep up on your own health. Yeah.
And if possible, have someone there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's key. I get it that you have to go by yourself. There's instances that you have to go by yourself. But, if you got somebody else with you, that's in any appointment. You should really have somebody with you. So many places don't let you, tape anything on your phone so you remember it or whatever. But, on that note, stay listening to Evergreen Media Network.